Would you believe me if I told you the biggest plot twist of this NFL offseason started with a phone call and a text, not a touchdown? Micah Parsons is gone from Dallas, and for a week, it felt like every GM in the league was dialing the Cowboys just to ask the same two questions. Is he available, and how badly do you want him? X, formerly Twitter, picture the scene. Locker room lockers half empty, fans scrolling headlines under stadium lights. A player who turned ordinary Sunday afternoons into panic attacks for offensive coordinators now packing up memories and maybe a few shirts. The noise started as rumor, swelled into a trade request, and then exploded into calls that included not only Green Bay, but surprisingly Las Vegas, a team that already has its own Max Crosby. Raiders beat. Let's rewind the tape. The standoff began like so many do. Stalled negotiations, bruised pride, and little moments that build into a public rupture. Parsons publicly asked for a trade. The Cowboys weren't willing to just hand him to the highest bidder, and the rumor mill accelerated. Scouts and GMs are always listening, and once Benjamin Albright reported that teams, including the Raiders, had checked in, the chessboard got messy in the best possible way for story-hungry fans. X, formerly Twitter, why would Las Vegas even call? On paper, it looks redundant. The Raiders already have Max Crosby, a former All-Pro who demands attention of his own, and their roster still has holes. But football isn't only logic, it's leverage, identity, and theater. Pairing Parsons and Crosby would be a nightmare for quarterbacks in the AFC West. Imagine both edges relentless and relentless again, chasing Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert into third and long after third and long. The idea of two generational rushers bookending a line is a ketamine shot of potential, and for a new coaching staff trying to sell a vision, it's tempting. Raiders beat. Then the real plot twist landed. The Packers swooped in, and Dallas accepted a haul, 2 future first-round picks and veteran defensive tackle Kenny Clark, to send Parsons north. The Packers didn't just trade for him. They signed him to a record-setting 4-year deal that reportedly pays about $188 million with roughly $136 million guaranteed. That figure reshapes the market for every elite non-quarterback in the league. Reuters. There's comedy and heartbreak mixed together in these moments. Imagine a GM on the phone trying to explain to ownership why a mountain of draft capital should be traded for a single player. Imagine a kid in the stands whose favorite player changes teams and suddenly the colors of his hoodie don't match the team in his heart anymore. For fans, a trade like this is a small death and a new curiosity all at once. The kind of thing that makes group chats explode and bar arguments erupt on Sundays. But for front offices, this is strategic math played with human pieces. Let's look at actual logic. Dallas converted present dominance into future optionality. 2 first-rounders are draft capital that can be used to replenish a roster, trade up, or structure contracts that keep a team competitive over years rather than months. Adding Kenny Clark gives them a steady veteran inside, a voice in the room, and an anchor for the run defense. Green Bay, in contrast, spent picks and money to change the immediate ceiling of their team. Parsons is the kind of elite disruptor who doesn't just make plays on his own stat sheet. He forces game plans to be remade around him, creating opportunities for teammates and changing opponent strategy overnight. Neither front office move is morally superior. They are bets on different timelines. Reuters now consider the Raiders' brief flirtation with the idea. Why would they peak? Because in a weird way, sometimes the best move isn't to acquire every available superstar. It's to signal you tried. Calling the Cowboys told the league in the locker room that Las Vegas was willing to think big. It also sent a message to players. New regime, new ambition. And while adding Parsons on top of Crosby might have been fiscally questionable given Las Vegas's other needs, it would have been a seismic cultural signal, a pledge that the team was pivoting from building to trying right now. Raiders beat. But here's the human center of the story. The men actually living it. Contracts, picks, and cap space are numbers. Cold, tidy, rational. Players are not. Parsons has been a lightning rod, an emotional tornado on social media and in locker room politics. He made a public choice to ask for a trade. That fractures the intimacy between fan and favorite. The Cowboys have to weather the immediate sting. Green Bay inherits expectation, praise, and the weight of paying top dollar for top production. And Las Vegas? They asked, they visualized a pairing that would make offensive coordinators lose sleep, and then they pivot back to their own roster priorities. X, formerly Twitter. There's also a broader lens. The NFL market is a living, breathing thing. When one franchise sets a contract benchmark, whether it's an extension for a defensive star or a blockbuster deal for a quarterback, that number ripples through negotiations everywhere. Parsons' deal changes leverage. It affects what teams will offer the next elite edge rusher, and it alters the calculus for clubs deciding between a win-now swing and a patient build. The Packers' aggressive move might accelerate others to make bold decisions. Conversely, teams like Dallas show there are still ways to prioritize flexibility. Reuters. And then there's the small emotional snapshot I want you to hold. The fan who dove into the life of a team with the kind of trust that makes football feel like family. He learned the sound of Parsons' number being announced. He has a clip saved of a sack that made him yell into his pillow. A trade doesn't erase those Sundays. It just changes who he'll talk to about them. That's the real currency. Memories that don't belong to front offices or stat sheets, but to people who cheered and cried in stadiums and living rooms. Those memories don't trade well. They stay, they stick, they keep the story alive. So what's the headline lesson if you want to sound smart at the water cooler? Teams buy identity or they buy options. Green Bay bought instant identity and a jolt of championship signal. Dallas bought options and the scaffolding to rebuild its identity over time. Las Vegas checked in to say they were listening, and in that short conversation, the entire offseason grew another subplot. None of it feels tidy, but all of it feels absolutely necessary to the next chapter of the league. Reuters. If you walk away with one line to drop into argument or tweet or late-night debate, use this. You can trade a jersey and you can trade a number, but you can't trade the Sundays you spent believing someone was yours. Micah Parsons will wear a new helmet, but the way he made fans hold their breath at the snap, that stays with them forever. Can you imagine Micah Parsons on the market? Reports now say the Raiders checked in with the Cowboys about Parsons' availability. And that's a reminder. Every team with a pulse should be interested in a two-time first-team All-Pro. Insider Benjamin Albright posted on X that Dallas has taken calls from several teams, including Green Bay and Las Vegas. But the Cowboys haven't entered negotiations, and they haven't given Parsons permission to seek a trade or work out a contract with anyone. Translation: teams are poking, probing, and testing the waters. But Dallas still controls the conversation. On paper, a Parsons to Raiders link makes you pause. Las Vegas already boasts Max Crosby, one of the league's premier pass rushers. Giving up premium draft capital or destabilizing other roster areas to add Parsons would be a massive swing. And the Raiders have holes elsewhere that need attention. Yet when you zoom out to the AFC West landscape, the logic becomes clearer. Pairing Crosby and Parsons would create arguably the most fearsome edge rushing duo in football.